Welcome to Chapter 15, The Spirit of Reform. We will explore 3 lessons: social reform, the abolitionist, and the women's movement. This video focuses on Lesson 2, the abolitionist movement, a crucial part of the reform era. We are beginning Lesson 2, the abolitionist, which explores the movement to end slavery, starting on page 410 of your text. Our second section of this lesson is titled, The Movement Builds Strength. A guiding question for this section is, why did the reform movement gain momentum? Remember to answer the question using at least 2 pieces of evidence from the text. Make sure you include your heading for today, April 29, 2026. If you answered Monday's question with 2 pieces of textual evidence, you may wait for the 3rd question when we move on to the next section. We have been practicing this for 2 years now. You should be fully prepared to write, read, and reread the text to find your answers. Turn to page 411. African American abolitionist. Free African Americans in the North, especially, supported the goal of abolition. Most lived in poverty in cities and had trouble getting good jobs and decent housing. They were often subject to violent attacks. Yet these African Americans were proud of their freedom. They sought to help those who remained enslaved. African Americans helped organize and lead the American Anti-Slavery Society. They subscribed to The Liberator. They also did their own writing and publishing. In 1827, Samuel Cornish and John Russwurm started the country's first African American newspaper, Freedom's Journal. Born free in North Carolina and settling in Boston, writer David Walker published a powerful pamphlet against slavery. He challenged African Americans to rebel and overthrow slavery. He wrote, "America is more our country than it is the whites. We have enriched it with our blood and tears." In 1830, free African American leaders held a convention in Philadelphia. Delegates met to devise ways and means for the bettering of our condition. They discussed starting an African American college and encouraging free African Americans to move to Canada. Frederick Douglass speaks while
"The time is come when we must not be mealy-mouthed, but speak out.
Hear me.
Hear me. Let justice be done."
The role of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is the best-known African American abolitionist. Born into slavery in Maryland, Douglass escaped in 1838. He settled first in Massachusetts. Please look at the following painting. It depicts Frederick Douglass speaking as disorder breaks out at an 1860 abolitionist meeting in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, let's draw some conclusions. Why do you think an abolitionist meeting in a northern city became so disorderly? Please raise your hand if you would like to answer. Please turn to page 412. As you read, remember that not every part of the section will directly answer the guiding question. You will need to be selective and identify the specific details that explain why the reform movement gained momentum. As a runaway, Douglass faced the danger of capture and a return to slavery. Still, he joined the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society. He traveled widely to speak at abolitionist meetings. He even appeared at events in London and the West Indies. Douglass was a powerful speaker who often moved listeners to tears. He also edited the anti-slavery newspaper North Star. Douglass made his home in the United States because he believed abolitionists must fight slavery at its source. He insisted that African Americans receive not just freedom, but full equality with whites as well. In 1847, friends helped Douglass buy his freedom from the slaveholder from whom he had fled in Maryland.
I have come among you to declare the truth, for I am a messenger from the Almighty.
Sojourner Truth. I was born a slave in Ulster County, New York, Isabella Baumfree began when she told her story to audiences. After a childhood and youth filled with hardship, she escaped in 1826. Then she officially gained her freedom in 1827 when New York banned slavery. Baumfree later settled in New York City with her 2 youngest children. In 1843, Baumfree chose a new name. In the biography Sojourner Truth, Slave, Prophet, Legend, she explained, "The Lord named me Sojourner, Truth, because I was to declare the truth to the people." The Underground Railroad. Abolitionists sometimes risked prison and death to help African Americans escape slavery. They helped create a network of escape routes from the South to the North called the Underground Railroad. Underground Railroad passengers, that is, escaping African Americans, traveled by night, often on foot. The North Star guided them in the direction of freedom. During the day, they rested at stations, barns, basements, and attics until the next night. The railroad's conductors were whites and African Americans who guided the runaways to freedom in the northern United States or Canada. Harriet Tubman was the most famous conductor. The Underground Railroad helped as many as 100,000 enslaved people escape. It gave hope to many more. Our final section for this lesson is Reaction to the Abolitionists. Please pause the video now to answer the second guiding question for Lesson 2. Remember to use your textual evidence as we practiced. The final guiding question for Lesson 2 is, who opposed the abolition of slavery? Take a moment to write that question down now. As you move forward, remember to listen closely to the reading and then reread the section on your own to find the answer. You are fully capable of answering this question independently based on the text. Turn to page 413.
Get out of Alton! We will not tolerate this paper! Burn it down!
Reaction to the abolitionists. Abolitionists stirred strong reactions. Most white Southerners believed abolition threatened their way of life, which required enslaved labor. Even in the North, only a few white people supported abolition. Many white Northerners worried that freed African Americans would never blend into American society. Others feared that abolitionists could begin a war between the North and South. Opposition to abolitionism sometimes led to violence. In Philadelphia, a bloody race riot followed the burning of an anti-slavery group's headquarters. Police had to jail William Lloyd Garrison to protect him from a Boston mob. Elijah Lovejoy in Illinois was not so lucky. Angry whites invaded his anti-slavery newspaper offices and wrecked his presses 3 times. 3 times Lovejoy installed new presses. The 4th time the mob attacked, it set fire to the building. When Lovejoy came out of the blazing building, someone shot and killed him. The white South reacts. White Southerners fought abolitionism with arguments in defense of slavery. They claimed that slavery was necessary to the Southern economy and had allowed Southern whites to reach a high level of culture. As anti-abolitionist Senator James Henry Hammond said in an 1858 speech to Congress, "In all social systems, there must be a class to do the menial duties, to perform the drudgery of life. Such a class you must have, or you would not have that other class which leads progress, civilization, and refinement." This image depicts a significant building from the abolitionist era, the John Rankin House. Located along the Ohio River, this home served as a vital station on the Underground Railroad. The Reverend John Rankin, along with his wife and children, courageously assisted hundreds of individuals escaping from slavery on their journey to freedom. This illustration shows a mob attacking an abolitionist building, a stark example of the violence faced by those fighting to end slavery. In 1837, a mob targeted and killed newspaper editor Elijah Lovejoy for his abolitionist views. What was it about his work that they wanted to stop? Raise your hand to answer the question. White Southerners also argued that they treated enslaved people well. They claimed that Northern workers were worse off than enslaved workers because they worked in factories for long hours at low wages. Also, Northern workers had to pay for their own goods and services from their small earnings, while enslaved African Americans received food, clothing, and medical care. Other defenses of slavery were based on racism. Many whites believed that African Americans were better off under white care than on their own.